Some of you may know we have a mayor's election coming up in about 3 weeks. And the way things are today, many people, many of you maybe, are too busy to actually follow the election to really know what's going on. Because I have a small interest in politics, I thought I would do you a favor of summarizing the election and maybe encourage you to vote. So we all know our mayor is Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Some people love him, some people hate him. Nobody's in the middle. Some people call him Mayor 1%. So although he's done many things well for the city, there are some things that haven't gone as well. And this is why there are 4 challengers. So we have a total of 5 contestants for mayor. We have Mayor Rahm Emanuel, we have Alderman Robert Fioretti, we have Willie Wilson, Doc Walls, and Chuy Garcia. Has everyone here heard of these contestants? Some? Yes? Well, the main thing to know about the mayor's election, there's a lot of different things to know. The main thing to know is that to win the election, you need 50% of the vote. If you don't get 50% of the vote, there's a runoff between the top 2 candidates. Now, a recent Tribune poll, just out a few days ago, gave the mayor, Rahm Emanuel, about 42%, Chuy Garcia about 17%, Fioretti 10%, Wilson 8 or 9%, and Doc Walls 1%. 20% or 30% are undecided. Generally, 3/4 of undecideds vote for someone other than the candidate in office. So the odds are, if the mayor doesn't get 50% and there is a runoff, there's a good chance that we can actually have a race between the mayor, assuming he'll be the #1 candidate, and the second place finisher. So why is that? Let's assume Chuy Garcia comes in second at 18% and the mayor gets 42%. Basically, as the election stands now, Chuy being the main competitor, he has most of the supports of the unions, like the teachers union, SEIU, and the police. Some of you know in the past few years there's been a lot of people upset with how the mayor handled the school crisis. Now, one reason why the mayor has done so well in the past election and going into this election is his fundraising capability. But it's another reason why some people think he caters to the wealthy. In this recent article in the Tribune, it also stated over the past 4 or 5 years since he's been mayor, he's raised a total of $30 million. About half of that money has come from 100 top donors. So many people think that he caters to the wealthy just because of the campaign contributions he's getting from the wealthy as well as large corporations. Now, if we look at the recent snowstorm we had just the other day, myself living downtown, I actually made a Facebook comment that the downtown area was clean as a whistle. The streets were perfect. Yet friends I knew in the neighborhoods, they weren't as happy with the snow cleaning. Many people think it's because, like I said, the mayor caters to the wealthy aspect of the community, which is downtown. Now, the top challenger, Jesus Garcia, for those of you who don't know much about him, he's on the Cook County Board. He has a long progressive history in the city of Chicago. He was a state senator, he was an alderman. Like I said, he has the backing of the unions, and he considers himself the candidate of the neighborhood. Just to go over the other candidates, Alderman Fioretti, his issues are the schools. He doesn't have a lot of union support and he hasn't raised much money. Doc Wells, one of the other candidates, he's run in many elections. He usually gets about 1%. He's not really taken seriously. And the 5th candidate, Willie Wilson, he's a businessman from the South Side. I believe he has a bunch of McDonald's franchises. And what makes him an important candidate is he's actually put $1 million of his money into the race. So that makes him someone to be considered just because of the money. Now, with all this information I've given you, a lot of you, including myself, are still probably thinking that Mayor Rahm Emanuel can't be beat. And although this is true, he has a very high unfavorability rating. Now, when the election comes up in February, I think it's 24th, many people will assume he's going to win. Why should I vote? Other people may not decide to vote just because of the weather, which is something else. The city actually holds the elections in February because why? Because the weather is horrible. It's so difficult to actually get to the voting place that it holds down the amount of people that vote and it favors the incumbents. So just to do a little poll here of the many people in the audience, how many people plan on voting? A few of you? 10? No? Maybe? Well, that's good to know. But the key to remember is we all have these decisions that we have to make as far as voting. There's a lot to look into it. You have a lot of choices to make. When we look at the city overall, some people think the mayor has done a good job because he's attacked issues like pensions, balancing the budget, and getting the schools better. But there's ways to attack issues in a way maybe that the citizens would prefer. Now, some of the other candidates have some new ways of raising money where the middle and lower incomes wouldn't be hurt as much. I believe Jesus Garcia and Robert Fioretti, they would like to consider a commuter tax. They're not talking too much about it, but I've heard them mention this before. A commuter tax of say 1% that the wealthy that live in the suburbs and commute to the city. They get all the, Craig's looking at me funny, it's wealthy. But the fact is, many of these folks move to the suburbs, they have their great jobs in the city, and many people feel that they get much more out of it than what they put into it. So there's a lot of issues to look at. Other issues are the speed cameras and the red light. We've recently had a lot of investigations into the red light cameras where there was a lot of tickets that were given falsely, or people were not deserving of these tickets. So these are all serious issues that we should look at and gives us a reason to vote. The fact is, when we voted for the mayor the first time, we really weren't aware of some of his ideas like speed cameras in the schools, so we kind of got what we deserved. So hopefully with all the information I've given you, you can take a second look at all the other candidates, or maybe the mayor himself. And really what I would just like to encourage is that everyone here in the audience gets their chance to put in their 2 cents, participates in the process, and just goes out and votes.